All right, let's talk about one of the most controversial moments of this Australian Open because social media absolutely exploded after it. Here's the situation. This was Sinner versus Elliot Spizzirri, and the match had reached a boiling point, literally. They were one set all, deep into the third set, and Spizzirri was actually leading 3-1. Momentum clearly on his side. The crowd could feel it. Sinner looked uncomfortable, physically struggling, barely moving between points. At one stage, he looked like he couldn't walk properly. Heavy legs, shallow breathing, clear signs of distress, and then the match was stopped. Not for rain, not for injury, but for the heat rule. Immediately, chaos online. Convenient timing. They saved Sinner. Australian Open favoritism. If this was a nobody, the match continues. And honestly, you can understand why people are suspicious. Let's break this down calmly, because this is where emotion, perception, and actual rules collide. What is the heat rule? At the Australian Open, extreme heat is not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. The tournament uses a heat stress scale combining temperature, humidity, radiant heat, and wind. When conditions cross a certain threshold, officials are allowed, and sometimes required, to suspend play. This isn't new. This isn't optional, and it doesn't belong to the umpire alone. Medical staff, tournament supervisors, and officials monitor these conditions constantly. When the threshold is reached, matches can be delayed or suspended regardless of scoreline, momentum, or star power. So from a rules perspective, stopping the match was allowed. But rules don't erase controversy. This is where things get uncomfortable. Sinner was losing, Spizzirri was on top, and Sinner was visibly suffering. After the stoppage, everything changed. When play resumed later, Sinner looked refreshed, movement improved, intensity returned, the match flipped. And eventually, Sinner went on to win. That sequence, struggle, stoppage, recovery, victory, is exactly why people are angry. Not because the heat rule exists, but because when it was applied, fans are asking why now? Why not earlier? Why not let the set finish? And these are fair questions. Here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no proof of favoritism, but tennis doesn't live on proof alone. It lives on perception. The Australian Open has a long history of protecting players from extreme heat, including suspending matches with no big names involved. Lesser-known players have benefited from the same rule before. At the same time, it's impossible to ignore reality. Sinner is a global star, a title contender, a ratings magnet. Would this match have been stopped at the same moment if it was two qualifiers on court 15? That's the question nobody can answer honestly, and that's where doubt creeps in. Now let's flip it. What if officials didn't stop the match and Sinner collapsed? What if he suffered heat exhaustion or something worse? The tournament would be accused of negligence. Player safety would be questioned. The same people would say, how could they let him continue? This is the impossible balance tournaments face. Protect the athlete or protect the integrity of the contest. Sometimes you can't fully do both. This controversy isn't really about Sinner, it's about clarity. Fans don't hear the exact heat metrics. They don't see the medical data, they just see the scoreboard and the timing. If tournaments explain these decisions better, in real time a lot of this noise would disappear. Instead, silence creates suspicion. Was the heat rule applied correctly? Yes, by the rule book. Did it change the match? Absolutely. Was it favoritism? There's no evidence, but the timing makes it feel questionable. What's your opinion? I read you in the comments. And if you liked the video, subscribe for more